Hey, this is Mike. Thank you so much for choosing this video. Tonight, I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina, visiting Parkway Hyundai, and I'm checking out a 2022 Hyundai Santa Cruz in the SEL Premium trim level at night. So this video focuses on the interior and exterior lighting of the vehicle. Check my channel for the full overview and test drive videos. First, I want to point out that you can turn off all the exterior lights when you turn the headlight switch off and you engage the parking brake. When you turn off the parking brake and the headlight switch is off, then these very bright daytime running light accent lights illuminate here in the front. Now there's no tail lights illuminated, there's no other lights, just these here in the grille. And they're very bright. You can see these during the day and at nighttime when it's in this brightness level. It does dim down when you turn on the headlights though. Now I have the parking lights on. Now these accent lights are much dimmer, but we also have other lights that are illuminated as well. The side marker in amber here in the front is now illuminated. There's a small side marker here in the back, but also your tail lights are illuminated and they wrap around the edge. And they are a nice red color. The camera kind of makes them look a little orangey, but they are a nice deep red. Maybe that'll help out a little bit. Make them look more true to life. The turn signal here in the front is an amber in color, very bright, sharp, crisp LED. And it's right there on the inner portion of the headlight housing. It's very bright. It's a very bright turn signal. There's also a turn signal indicator on the side mirror, which is a LED, and this is not so bright, but you can see it from the front, the side, and the back, and it's also in that amber color. And the turn signal in the back is a standard bulb, and it is also red as well. And it's kind of integrated into the design of the tail light. Now I have the low beams on, and you can see those accent lighting stays dim at this point. And the low beams are in a quad projector. There's two projectors there on the top, and then there's two at the bottom. The bottom two are for the high beams, and the two on the top are for the low beams. We will look at this on the road as well, but there's just the pattern here for the high beams and the low beams against my truck. And since we have the high beams on, now let's look at the projector. Because now all four of the projectors are now illuminated. So you can see the top two are the low beams, and the bottom two are the high beams, and they're focused in a way to cover different portions of the road. And these accent lighting are multi-reflectors in there. So there's tons of little reflectors kind of aiming the light, and this is just to be seen, not to add visibility or anything. It's more of an accent and a daytime running light. And it's integrated in the design of the grille as well. So let's look at the cargo light here in the bed. And there's actually three lights, one there on the far right. And let's go ahead and swing this out so we can take a look a little bit better. So there's one LED there on the right, there's one on the left, and there's one in this high position there, illuminating the entire bed. I think they did a great job having one on each side and one on top illuminating. And that top one is like a bar, so it kind of spreads the light around to the entire cargo area. Now these two lights on either side are positioned in a way to where when we open up this compartment here, the underbed compartment, when we lift it up, once it gets past that light, now that light is illuminating this compartment really well. The inside of the back door only has one illumination point, and that is for a placeholder for the power window. Everything else is dark in the door. And the back seat is illuminated by the single dome light, and it illuminates the seat fairly well. The floorboard not so well. The inside of the driver's door is only illuminated with these buttons. So it has backlit buttons here for the power windows and door locks, but not for the side mirror adjustment. That's dark. Other than that, the door is completely dark. And similar deal here in the front. We have two dome lights in the center, which illuminates the seat a little bit better, and also the console and everything a little bit better than the back seat. But there's still no floorboard illumination, but it does cast some light down in the floorboard. There's some backlit buttons here to the left of the steering wheel. So I'm sitting in the driver's seat, and I got the door open so we can see what the interior lights look like just from sitting here. It does a pretty decent job of illuminating everything, most everything. The floorboard has a little bit of illumination. The compartments are okay. And while I've got the door open and the lights on, let me go ahead and show you this compartment. Because does not have its own light. You do have to use the interior lights to see in this compartment. So that will just be completely dark without the interior lights on. And surprisingly enough, same thing with the glove compartment. No light in the glove compartment. Okay, so let's go ahead and shut the door. Interior lights kind of fade out, and we're left with backlit buttons and gauges, stuff like that. Now, as you can probably tell, I have the brightness turned up quite a bit on the camera. So let me turn that down so you can see what the gauges look like to my eyes. Something like that. So that's what it looks like to me. So we have backlit buttons, we have the gauges here. And we can adjust the brightness with the gauges. We can bring it down and bring it up. So it's not, I mean, you don't want super bright lights anyway while you're driving, and that you can dim them down. So having that gauge cluster, I was concerned that the background color of the gauges being white, or that bright color, would be a little bit too bright, but it's not too bad, especially considering you can dim it down, and then that way it's not a big deal. But you do have the backlit buttons here on the steering wheel, and here for the touch screen, climate control, and also the USB port step back here are also backlit illuminated, so you can find those relatively easy. Now there is a 12-volt power supply which is completely dark, so let me turn on the interior lights and hopefully you can see what I'm talking about. So there's a 12-volt power supply here, and then there's a USB here and here, and then there's the 12-volt power supply, which is dark. And this compartment is dark also. So unless you got, let me turn the brightness back up so you can see what I'm doing. Alright, so you do have this compartment here where you put your cell phone, your wireless charger, and it's dark inside there. So when it turns on, I have a little illuminated light, but other than that, it's and that's just to tell you that it's on. It's not actually illuminating this compartment. So you will need to use the interior lights quite a bit in order to you know, see the compartments, see the cup holders, they're not illuminated, that kind of thing. And the glove compartment, no light in the glove compartment and no light in the center console. And those are something that you don't necessarily want to turn on your interior lights to look in. So if you're driving and somebody wants to get some out of the glove compartment or the center console, you don't want to have to turn on all the interior lights in order to, you know, look in there. So I'm not sure why they don't have those lights in there. Maybe the higher trim level will, but this one does not have that. Same thing with the floorboard and stuff like that. Another thing that's kind of odd is that the button here, there's a button right here to turn on the interior lights. Let me go ahead and turn that off. And you'll notice it's not backlit. So you have to know right where it is in order to find it. There's other backlit buttons up here. There's other power going up here. But the button that actually, when you need to see in the dark and you need to find the light, it's not even glow in the dark, it's not backlit or anything. So I thought that was kind of surprising, that button would not be backlit, because the whole purpose of it is you need to turn on the light because you can't see, and if you don't know exactly where that button is, it might be an issue. Now you can turn on independent lights, and this might help out with seeing in compartments, but you know, that's just the way that is. All right, so there is a light here for the visor where the mirror is, but you have to manually turn it on or off. And it looks like a standard bulb. It's hard to tell, but it's a little yellowish. I'm not really sure. It's kind of medium, I guess. And there's no like ambient light or anything like that shining down the middle of the vehicle. So this is not the highest trim, so maybe some of the higher trims have, you know, additional lighting packages or something like that, but this one just is kind of on the low end as far as interior lighting, I would say. The cargo bed lights are great, the back seat lights poor, and I would say that other than the backlit portions, which look great, and the screens and all that, you know, the floorboard would be nice to have a little tiny bit of illumination, and certainly the compartments. Here's what the headlight pattern looks like. It's a cutoff right there. So it's against that field, and there's some trees in the backdrop. So when I put the high beams on, you can see it goes up and illuminates that center portion a lot more, and it comes back down, and you can see there's a clear, fairly low cutoff. There's also a little notch to avoid blinding oncoming traffic. And the further you go out, that notch becomes bigger. Up close, it's less big because of the beams, the parallax of the beams. But let's go ahead and drive it around and see what it looks like on the road. Now I'm going to have the automatic high beams on, and we'll see how they work. Alright, so far the high beams are working properly, the automatic high beams. So now it has high beams on, so it recognizes that red light is not a car, so that's good. As we slow down, they go back to low beams. We'll go back to that side road because there's too many lights out here. So given all the lights that we have to deal with, the headlights seem to do a pretty good job. You can see it goes all the way on the sides on low beam. On high beam it's even better. So it maintains that side light, and then let's go on this other side road, and then it adds that additional light, so that with the quad projector, it basically, you're not going from low to high beams. You're adding high beams to your low beams. So you maintain that low position with that wide view, and then the high beams kick in, which gives you more in the center and a higher position. Okay, so let's turn the high beams on just so you can see the distance. It has a really good distance. So there's the high beams, there's the low beams.